With the somewhat recent release of Naoki Urasawa's Pluto, I've been thinking a lot about some of his other works. First off, that obscure and totally unknown TV series Yawara, a fashionable judo girl from '89 that ran a crazy 124 episodes until '92. Like, where and when did that come from? Or that it's literally been a decade since I first watched and never finished Monster, and how Monster's older brother Master Keaton is one of my favorite anime of all time. I'm a little disappointed in myself that it's taken me this long to cover Keaton. Actually, I've been supposed to do this video from like 2018, but when I think about it, the production plateau the channel's reached at this point is on a level where it might have been divine timing for this to finally get the video from me that it deserves from a presentation standpoint. Hopefully this video doesn't go on too long, but if it does, then watch some of it now and watch the rest when you get a chance. From 1988 to 94, Urasawa put out 18 volumes of Master Keaton through Shogakukan, same publisher of a lot of Rumiko Takahashi work around that mid to late 80s era. Today we'll be discussing the 39-episode anime from 1998. So the basic premise of Master Keaton surrounds this grown-ass, educated man named Taichi Keaton, who is a Hafu actually, which of course is a Japanese term for a half Japanese, half non-Japanese person. His father is a Japanese zoologist, while his mother is from Britain. There's actually a lot of lore to Keaton. For one part, he and his wife both studied at Oxford University over there in England. The wife, well, ex-wife, studied at Somerville College, which is an offspring of Oxford, which is true in the real world as well. But today, Keaton is an ex-Special Air Service soldier for the British Army and has developed skills which aids him in what we end up seeing in the anime, as the bulk of the show's purpose being his role as an agent for an insurance fraud company called Lloyd's. At times, Keaton will run into people from his days as a student and as a SAS soldier, and this reinforces him as a real person with a serious background that you internalize as actually real. There's a section coming up dedicated just to Keaton's character, so I'll elaborate on this point at that time. Majority of the show is made up of episodic investigations that go wrong where Keaton ends up having to play offense or defense against insurance fraud or regular criminals. But it does something totally different than a lot of crime-stopping stories do, incorporating an abundance of slice-of-life episodes and moments into the mix. But not slice-of-life like comedy or day-to-day life type of things. Things that are cerebral and make you think, or just things that bring the humanity out of you. Here's a couple example episodes. In the third episode, where Keaton is trying to help a little girl whose grandmother is trying to take her from her mother. Something to do with the father, because the grandmother is the father's mother, and thinks that the granddaughter should be with that side of the family and this and that. But the episode has Keaton and this little girl bonding and ends with them dancing in the street. This one sits in the middle of two action-heavy episodes before and after it. Some episodes his daughter will come through and visit him randomly, and they'll talk or take part in some form of an activity, and a whole episode will be based around their conversation. It's not something you see in anime every day. You would think all this would get predictable and lose its cool factor after a dozen episodes or so because of the anime pretty much being 40 episodes only, but it finds a way to work around this. What you'll find is that not every episode, actually not many at all, gave a standard plot line of Keaton being explained a mission and he flies over there and, does what he's supposed to do like these other stealthier shows. Certain episodes will already begin with Keaton literally in the middle of warfare, which means that he was already deployed to do his mission already. And then it'll turn into a slice of life, or it'll turn into something very weird actually, but it works. So let's take a minute and speak on Keaton. As much as he doesn't come off this way in how he interacts with characters, especially when you see him working as a part-time professor, he is a very intelligent individual and is also physically competent as well. He's pretty nerdy if you ask me, where he knows small little details such as the year in which certain heritage buildings were built and what certain elements are used to make random things. By the way, I forgot to mention earlier, he is also an ex-archaeologist. So yeah, this dude, he's lived life. Let's just say that. His understanding of various methods of tactical combat and technical aspects of artillery display this time and time again throughout the course of the show. Of course, you can expect him to carry the street smart mentality as well, which keeps him alive as the criminals and other characters he faces are no fools, and many of them could be cutthroat. This is what made me, and I guarantee you will too, gravitate towards him being memorable to the mind. The uniqueness of character establishment, not so much development, with Keaton was delivered fantastically, despite this being an episodic show, avoiding throwing together a rushed two-parter at the end of the series to tell this backstory. You learn about Keaton's childhood, family history from parents all the way to his wife and daughter, and their family story through several episodes that casually base the plot in connection to these historical facts of the family and Keaton. Like the fact that his father loved to chase women and that's why his mother left him, and Keaton ended up growing up in the UK and not Japan for that reason. There's another episode where Keaton's professor and mentor show up towards the end and showcase some of the academia history that he has. To me, this was enjoyable and had the episodic nature, leaving me craving for the next episode where a family member or a past peer or whatever individual shows up to show us more about his background, but you never quite knew which episode it would be. I found the action to really stand out despite the series not really putting too much focus on it, even though there's a lot of it, because of the very creative and stealthy ways Keaton and whatever partner he's working with have to protect themselves and take their opponents down. There's a lot of creativity if I say so, not just hiding behind corners with guns. I've shown some clips here, but when you watch this, you'll see for yourself. And of course, what stands out the most about this show is the fact that its episodic nature takes us to places all over Europe. Let's throw some examples out there. The first episode takes us to Dodinkanasi. I hope I said that right. Where the fuck is Dodinkanasi? Some island in the middle of nowhere off the coast of Greece and near Turkey somewhere. I mean, who thinks to write a story there? Next, random, episode 3, the Sky Mountains in Poland. Amazing. One more, episode 33 takes us to Florence, Italy. Beyond those 3 examples, of course, there's different locations across England. I remember seeing an episode in Dresden, Germany. I mean, this is a show that went crazy with its locations. In some episodes, it'll even give you a double portion of locations when the story goes off into some character's flashback on a past situation or memory in another part of the world. I always consider this anime the unofficial anime for your grandparents, because this is the type of, dare I say, cartoon that they actually would resonate with. I'm not sure if it's the British and European accents, but Master Keaton communicates with its audience in a sophisticated and educated manner that leaves a lasting impression on you if it does resonate. This is not for anyone who's going through a shonen battle phase. I'm sorry to tell you, it's a very intellectual anime. I must keep saying it and get it through your head, not unlike the average work of Urasawa. Unfortunately, the anime adaptation was extremely low budget, all across the board from animation to voice acting production quality. I feel like the voice acting was very well done when you judge it off of actor performance, but the actual audio work was poor for both the Japanese and the dub. Now, most of us that love this show, because whether conscious or subconsciously due to the bare bones production being carried by amazing writing and its maturity level, but for the average person that's not impressed by this kind of thing, it will be an instant turn off once you witness the opening intro. I mentioned this in previous videos about great teacher Onizuka, but Master Keaton has a different vibe because of his production that makes it seem several years older than it actually is. The series came out in 1998, but looks like something from 91 and 92. I mean, it would only be a year or two before things like Blue Submarine No. 6 will come out, or Big O, or tons of other anime that push that hand-drawn animation technology to its limits. And this still looks like it's stuck trying to decide if it's still the 80s or if it's the 90s now. Now, all of what I just put out there was for the general population of anime watcher to decide if they want to check this out. Now, let me talk to the rest of you that love retro anime. This is heaven. There's so much pre-digital candy in here in terms of hand-drawn cells, 90s anime style aesthetic with the backgrounds, and the anime goes out of its way to make sure it shows these various images to you in several ways, rather it be B-roll in between scenes or during actual dialogue or action. The visual presentation of Master Keaton was very distinct and intentional. We can assume because it knew all of the various locations it takes us to, as I said earlier, and why not go all the way in? I don't read manga, but the general population of Keaton consumers have reported the anime to be a fairly faithful adaptation of the manga, And I could feel this without even have read it, because it does at times feel like the anime is a visual manga. To say that isn't to do it justice, but just trust me on that one and see for yourself. Beyond the manga's run in the anime, there was a 1-volume manga one-shot called Master Keaton Remastered that dropped in 2012. Yeah, that was Master Keaton. The anime series would suggest otherwise, but the franchise is actually one of the most successful of all time, as the manga has sold over 20 million copies as of a decade ago. Ain't that a shame? Most of the anime community have never heard of this thing. But this is the Taichi Keaton story.
Naoki Keaton, Taichi. Mother English, father Japanese, nationality British. Graduated Oxford University, archaeologist. Served 3 years in the army, then joined the British Special Air Service, SAS. SAS!
He's now out of the force, but he performed an excellent job while serving as commanding officer during one case in particular, in the Iranian embassy rescue.